Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to look at the most brutal plugin made for all of you high gain lovers out there, the 1111 by OTTO. Now first off, I need to give credit where credit is due to my man Arnold Plays Guitar for turning me onto this plugin in the first place. Because in this plugin industry, it is so oversaturated with amp sims, it's really hard to get excited about them. And I usually tend to get pretty excited when plugins try something new and unique. And the 1111 certainly is quite different than your traditional amp sim suite. It is a plugin based around purely amp tone and is capable of doing any high gain tone that you can imagine. The user interface should be familiar to you since it does look like your traditional amp sim, but it is nothing like any that I've tried before. You have complete control over every nuance of your amp's tone, and for a metalhead like me that you can tell loves high gain tone, this is right up my alley. Now, if you are interested in checking out this plugin, I will put a link in the description below, but it retails for $111.11. Which is kind of weird, but it fits the theme of the plugin. But you can use my code Taylor50 to get half off. They also have a 14-day completely free trial period, and I'd highly suggest checking it out for yourself. It's something you really have to experience in person, and with the free trial, you really have nothing to lose. So let's go to my computer over there, and I will show you the plugin and what it's capable of. Guys, I am here at my computer. I have the OTTO 1111 opened up here, even though there's 4 11s. It's not the 1111. It's a tongue twister, I guess, maybe. Let's start out here. I think the best thing to do before you do anything with this plugin, when you load it up, just go through some of the presets here, and there are a ton of presets. By the way, we have these amp match presets, which is just nice if you kind of know what you were looking for, you know, by brand name, I would say. And look, let's go in here. Let's go to the, which one do we want to do? God, there's a lot of them. Uber driver, like Uber driver. It's probably an Uber shawl. Let's check this out. Sounds very Uber shawl-esque. Let's see what we have going on here. Now you can quickly scroll through by just clicking these buttons right here, the left and right buttons. Oh look, a VH140C. And if you notice that spread into stereo, there is a Widener on this particular amp. You can select that over here on the right. But let's just keep going through and finding the things that we like. Ooh, VH150 sounds mean. Tasty. Vintage Mars. Oh, we actually do have a clean amp in here. If you really wanted a clean amp, but why would you? Now let's go over the front panel controls here, then we're gonna flip around back and we're gonna go over those controls because there is a lot happening with this plugin. So over here on the left, you have the stylized, I think it's a stylized O. You have your impedance curves right here, and these range from scooped all the way to pushed mids. These are really going to affect your mid-range, so you are going to want to put some care into which one you select. Here's impedance curve 1, for example. Very, very scooped, and then if we go 5, that's somewhere like in the middle, it's pretty balanced. If we go to 9, now we get pushed mids. It's kind of hard to dial in this plugin sometimes because I just want to chug on it, but you know, we're gonna keep it moving along here. So I'm gonna select something, I maybe do like a slight push in the mids. Now we have our preamp controls here, so you have the gain, the bass, the middle, the treble. Pretty standard, pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to go into much here. I'm gonna turn this mid up a little bit though. Cut back on this bass just a hair, and turn up the gain a little. Sounds nice. I like it. Okay, and then we have our master volume knob over here. This thing is cranked. Now we could cut this back, and let's turn our output up here. And we're just gonna take a quick flip around to the back. You actually have this amplitude knob, which you can balance out if you turn your master volume down. And you can see turning up the input here, we actually do have quite a bit of headroom coming in, so. And every preset kind of changes the input and output levels a little bit here. It feels like it's driving the front end of the amp a little bit more, so we're just gonna leave it. On the back here, we have the power amp controls: bias, sag, feedback, and snarl. Our feedback is all the way down, so if you're turning these controls and wondering like, why is nothing happening? It's because your feedback is all the way down here. Adding feedback will create more harmonic content in your tone, and let's just turn it all the way up. And now we have control over our presence and our depth. Now on the end here, we have the OTTO audio logo, and this is actually your cab selection here. If you click on it, you can pick a different cabinet if you want. These are the included cabinets. There is no IR loader in this plugin, but in my opinion, I don't think that this plugin really needs one. It would be nice if you have an IR that you really know you like and just take the guesswork out of this part, which you can do if you're in a DAW. You know, you can bypass the cabinet section and load an IR in a loader in the chain after the plugin, but like in the standalone version that I'm using right now, no IR loader. But like I said, I don't think it needs one. I think these cabinets are really well suited for this plugin. So we're using cabinet 6 right now. Let's just go with cabinet 1. And same thing like with the impedance curves, you can quickly scroll through these by going left and right here. The nice thing about scrolling left and right is it forces you to use your ears and not visually look at what cabinet you're selecting. Now let's talk about the controls that we have on the bottom here. We already talked about the presets and being able to scroll left and right through the presets, but right here is going to be the foundation of your tone. You have a few different options here. I like the super collider that we landed on from the beginning, but you can just see the breadth of like different preamp sounds that you have in there. You know, when you take all of this into consideration and that we're only looking at the front panel so far, you can see like how kind of in depth you can get with these high gain tones. It's really, really just something else, man. I've never seen a plugin go so deep and be so varied in just the high gain tones. Now on the bottom right, if you are getting overwhelmed by the impedance curves or maybe the power amp sections on the back, you can actually just turn those off. So if we turn off the impedance curve, now there is some volume variation, but don't let any of that confuse you. It's gonna happen a lot with this plugin when you're tweaking stuff, because invariably, when you're tweaking some of these parameters, you're gonna get like more mid-range or more low range, which could lead to a perceived difference in volume. But I will even this out in post. This is what it sounds like with the impedance curves on and off. You know, it's all about how detailed do you want to get with your tone here. Same thing with the power amp section. The power amp section, again, is this bias, sag, feedback, and snarl control. So this is with it off. So I'm gonna keep these things on. I like them. Now, I really like this. Look, I landed on cabinet 15. I didn't even know what cabinet it was because I was using the arrows. You do have resonance controls here. With the cabinets, I'm gonna turn the amplitude way down. And the resonance on a traditional amplifier would add more low end, but this kind of sounds like it's adding in some top end. I actually like it with quite a bit of resonance in there. Now, let's go over here to the power amp controls. We have bias, so if we want to run a hotter bias, and bias is another one of those things that is going to add volume into your signal, so you'll have to compensate. That's why this little amplitude knob is right here, just to help you out with that. I'm just gonna run the bias in the middle. And sag, if you are familiar with floor modelers, what this will do is sort of add power amp sag into your signal here, which is where you adjust, you know, the feel, if you are having a problem with like the way it feels under your fingers. Of course, we've turned the sag all the way up into extreme ranges. It gets super spongy and kind of not pleasant. If you want to add some sag in, I'd suggest just putting it maybe like right about there. Like even that is a lot for me. I'm gonna turn that down. And then we have snarl down here. If you want your amp to sound like a demon, throw some snarl in there. Tasty. I love it. I'm actually gonna throw some more in there because I'm a crazy person. Man, it's so mean. We have our tube selection here, and all of these power amp controls will actually react off of your tube selection. So I have KT88 selected here. I like KT88s. What can I say? But if we wanted to go with, you know, standard 6L6s. And the bias will behave differently depending on which tubes you select. So let's just cold bias our 6L6s. And like the note definition and articulation, it gets very, very tight and very defined with a cold bias, but let's turn the bias all the way up and just be crazy, people. We need to turn this amplitude down a little bit to compensate. Man, really, really cool. We have EL34s, same thing here. Let's put the bias in the middle. Cold bias. Let's put it, you know, I'm gonna put the bias around here. I'm gonna go back to the KT88s. Love KT88s, man. Okay, over here we have a gate control, pretty self-explanatory. Just, hey, I have some noise. Oh, there it goes, it's gone. We have this little section on top, these sort of modifiers, I guess I would call them. Here, let's turn them all off and we can see what they do individually. Let's turn the mod off as well. I'll go over that here in a second. First one we have here is punish. So this is what the amp sounds like with none of these modifiers. Let's have the punish. It almost sounds like we just picked up another gain stage here. Let's turn the low modifier on. So it's giving us a big push in the low end there. I'm gonna keep that off for now. I think that this has plenty of low end as is, and if you know me, it's a pretty big statement. And then we have this plus 10 dB. The plus 10 dB to me just sounds like throwing a boost in front of the amplifier almost. It just gives you like that really aggressive sort of sound going into the amplifier. So me being who I am, I'm gonna leave that switch on at all times. I really love the sound of this so far, man. It's just like every little nuance you can think of in high gain tone that you want to adjust, you can adjust it here. It's pretty neat. We have the mod here. It is very subtle. And, 'cause, 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 ' You know, it's really hard to say what it's doing because it's so subtle. But I'm hearing like some richness in the low mids with it, and it sounds like the top end is a little bit cleaned up with the mod. I could be totally imagining that, but I like the color purple more than I like the color orange or red or whatever that is. So let's just leave it on, right? Alright guys, I'm really curious what you think about this one. Like I mentioned earlier, I got really excited when Arnold told me about this plugin, but actually plugging into it and starting to craft my sound was such an awesome experience. Again, they do have a free trial and you can use my code in the description to save 50% if you end up enjoying it, which I'm absolutely sure you will if you like high gain tones. Special thanks to OTTO Audio for sponsoring this video. Big special thanks to Arnold Plays Guitar, but the biggest special thanks is to you for being here with me. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, like and share and do all the things, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.